Another hour of hits and memories.
From Huntingdon's truly local radio station.
Over to you. Over to you.
On HCR 104 FM.
HCR. Bill Hensley here with Over to You. And tonight I'm talking to Ivan Sue. And we were going to talk to David Page, but he's on holiday. So I hope you're listening in, David. So, Sue, you're going to start for us. When and where did all this start?
Okay, hi everyone. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about Dad and the history of Dad. David, who is responsible for originally building the railway. He was born in London in 1924. He was an amazing man, very unique, and he was self-taught in most things that he turned his hand to. Most of his career was spent at Adams and Oliver in Warboys, no longer there, sadly, but local people that are of a certain age will probably know Adams and Oliver.
I live in Warboys.
Oh, do you? And you remember Adams and Oliver?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Rolls-Royce dealers.
Rolls-Royce and Bentley specialists, yes. Yeah. He was there until 1989. Started in at 61.
I probably knew your dad because there was a chap there, a very, very good mechanic, used to fix my V8 Rover.
Oh, that would be him if it was a good mechanic.
Yeah.
And if he was a very nice man. Oh, that's wonderful. What a lovely connection. Well, there you go. This is absolutely.
But carry on, I interrupt you.
No, don't worry, that's good. So, as retirement approached in about 1988, he decided that he would take up a hobby. He wanted something that would fill his time. He was good with clocks, so he did think about being a clockmaker, maybe, or a clock restorer. But he just, or maybe build Gauge 1 locomotives, which is something else he likes to do. He was a self-taught engineer. He was quite amazing. Whatever he did, he just, whatever he wanted to do, he'd just do it. But he decided to build the locomotives. But of course, if you build locomotives, then you need a track to run them on. So hence the Garden Railway in Somersham, that was called Conehouse Garden Railway, was born. So he started it in 1988, and he went on for very many years working on it. As they aged, they decided that they wanted to move to a bungalow. So they moved to Little Paxton. They found a bungalow in Little Paxton that had a huge garage. It had to have a huge garage for that was the only stipulation, really. Somewhere to put the caravan and a huge garage to put the railway in. And they moved in 2008, and he started building the railway straight away before Mum had even unpacked the boxes, which is a little family story that we like to tell quite often and laugh about, because, he was just crazy. He was knocking holes in the walls of the garage so the railway could come out and go in. He was wonderful. So that's where it all started. When sadly he died 2.5 years after moving into Little Paxton. He had pretty much finished it to a degree, but there was I don't know what I'm trying to say. It needed to be maintained. We didn't want it lost. That's what I'm trying to say. It was very important for his legacy not to be lost, because he'd put so much love and care, and we've got all these beautiful locomotives that we wanted to run.
Now, at the start, I think somebody handed him a little magazine.
Gauge 1 Railway magazine.
Yes.
And that piqued his interest.
Yeah, I think he was going to do the clocks, and then saw that and thought, ooh, that's a bit more exciting. Things move around.
Yes, you're very true. When our son David, he from a very small child, even from about 2 or 3 years old, whenever he stayed with Nanny and Grandad, he would always be outside with Grandad with the train. So he had learnt an enormous amount. He absorbed it naturally, lots of engineering and how they worked inside. And he's a clever chap as well. He's inherited that from his Grandad. And so it was decided that Ivan, because he's a very good model maker, he'd already made some models on the railway, and he'd painted all the backdrop in the garage, and that is huge, the backdrop. And so it was decided that David and hubby Ivan, would take over, and they would run it, and that's what they've been doing these last, how many years?
6.
6 years.
6 years now, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as Dad got older, of course, his construction wasn't quite up to standard to what it was at the start, and the rain had got into some of the track, and it was buckling and bowing. And so I said to my son David, I said, we need to rip this all up. And then he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I panicked because I'm not into that. And he said, "You can borrow my tools, Dad." And I go, "I don't want to borrow your tools." So what I did is I just cut segments off and marked them up, and I thought that's the best way, because then when my son comes over, he can use them as a template. And we just got better material, and it's great now because we wrap it up as well when turn the clocks back, because whereas Dad would be out in the garage listening to classical music, humming along and his train's going round, that's not quite for me. When it's cold outside, I'd rather be indoors, so I wrap it up, and of course it protects it over the winter, so it won't deteriorate as fast.
Right. Does let me turn my microphone on. Is it really affected by the weather? What about the really hot weather we had last year in 2022 when we had 40 degrees? Does that affect it?
No, because if you construct it properly and you leave enough gaps between the rails, that does allow for expansion, just like on a real railway. And the baseboards, it's 18mm marine ply, and that doesn't really buckle, and I gave it a good 2 or 3 coats of wood stain and preservative, and then on top of that you lay roofing felt, just so it looks like a normal track, like ballast, and then you put the track on there, and it's great. I love it.
And what scale is it?
It's called gauge 1, but to somebody who doesn't know what gauge 1 is, I'd say 1/32, and then if you don't know what 1/32 is, I always say a scale electric. If you think of a scale electric figure, that's the scale.
Right. Okay.
So it's not tiny. It's quite big.
Sue,
Yes.
how long was the track originally? Do you know?
Oh yes, 43 metres, the one that Dad built in Somersham.
In Somersham,
Yes.
yeah, that was 43. But when it come to Little Paxton, of course, everything was crammed in, and Dad got the radius, which is the bend, he got it just right, just enough for his locos to go round. And it's 32 metres round. And of course, there's about a quarter of it goes inside, which is exciting because that's where I come along, because like Sue said, I'm a model maker and I like making the trees and the scenery and rocks and everything. And whereas my son is the engineer, like Sue said, he grew up with his granddad, and it just natural for him, because on his day we had his funeral. Somebody said, "Oh, it's a shame we couldn't run the trains." Do you remember that? Then David said, "Well, I know how they run." We go, "Really?" We didn't stop to think. He said, "Oh yeah," and he just went out there, tinkered along. Next minute, there's one going round.
I remember a very poignant day when he took the top off of a particular piece of equipment. It's called a rail car, and it was designed by Dad, and it does amazing things. But it had stopped working, I believe, because Dad had died. You know, that's just me being emotional. And my son David took the top off, looked at it, and somehow he knew how to fix it. And I feel that I know it's a bit spiritualistic, but I feel like my dad was channeling through him. Do you know what I mean? And telling him, "Oh yeah, this is what you do." It's just wonderful. So there's a lot of emotion there. There's a lot of emotion around the whole of the railway because it's his legacy.
And Dad took the insides of an old VCR recorder, because it's got all cogs. He's going, yeah, I can create something here, and he done it. So when it goes to, there's like a horseshoe, it goes on this horseshoe track, and when it goes over these little ramps, it switches it off. Then the cams go round, waits a few seconds, then there's a little buzzer, beep, and then a few seconds later, off she goes to the next halt. And then there's a little switch that will flick, a reverse switch. So when it gets another beep, it goes round. So it's totally independent. And Dad created that, and he said, because I've created it, I can always put it right. Yeah. Whereas people that come and see it, they go, how does it work? Then when I explain, what Dad did, it's just incredible.
Sue, when was the model railway first opened to the public?
Right, well, that was way back in Somersham when it was when Dad built it in Somersham, probably about 3 years after he started to build. As soon as, you know, he could run the locomotives successfully on it, Mum used to make tea and cakes and etc. and have it, bring and buy stalls, and they raised money mainly for the church, Somersham Church, but also for the local library, Save Our Library, and all sorts of, and the town band, I think, I'm not sure. So yeah, they did a lot of fundraising when they were in Somersham. And then when it came to Little Paxton, as soon as it was up and running in Little Paxton, they opened it again for the local church in Little Paxton. And then when we took over, we started opening it as well. And in fact, we've got a little fun fact. Since 2017, when it was last refurbished, we've raised £5,500. So that's very pleasing, obviously.
For 2 different charities?
Yes, for 2 different charities, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. I'm going to ask you a question in a little while about do you open to the public now? But we'll come on to that. But I was going to ask, who makes the tea and cakes now?
Family members and volunteers
Yes.
from the charities.
Right.
Yes.
Charity groups.
Yes, and me. I make tea as well. Lots of tea.
What are the Ivan? What are the locomotives made of?
Because Dad made them himself, he made them out of brass. The wheels were white metal, but they're incredibly heavy, because when people come round, you get a kit one, you can just pick it up, la 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 la, like that. You go to pick one of Dad's up and it's, oh crikey, it's so heavy. We used to buy him sheets of brass for Father's Day and Christmas. That's all he ever wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And said, what do you do, Dad? And he'd have like a wooden former, and he'd put it over there, tap, 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 get the right shape, and he'd measure it, and then he'd scale it, he'd look at all his paperwork, so like a certain loco, that would be this height and everything, and he's tap, 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 and he's got it all on there, and he just welds it, and the locomotives are run by 12 volts. It's not in the track. A lot of people come to the open days say, well, where's all the electric coming from? And we have to say, well, they're rechargeable batteries that are actually in the locos. And because Dad was such a good electrician, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he used to weld all the batteries together, and if anybody out there knows how hard that is to get it right, because my son, even when he looked at it, he went, oh, that's doing it the right way. He said, whereas you can buy packs now, so let's just upgrade, make things simpler. They just plug in, so basically white metal for the wheels, and you buy a motor, and then the brass is for the body.
He has
That's the locos.
He has a lathe. He had a lathe, didn't he?
Yep.
Which he would use to, turn things.
Yeah, turn the wheels.
Yeah.
Make the
Just
wheels
literally make
for
everything.
turntables. Yeah. He just twiddle his thumb and, like I said, have his classical music on and what are you doing now then, Dad? Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's always whistling.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, how did you decide what to do with the railway after David passed away?
Sort of really just fell into place, didn't it?
Well, your mum said, what on earth's going to happen to the railway?
Yeah.
And we looked at them, and of course me and Dave, my son David, we was interested. We said, well, we'll keep it going. And then your mum said, oh, really? I said, oh, yes. It was like, great, we'll pick the baton up, it's a legacy, keep it going. It's not going to be broken up and gone away. This is what Dad would have wanted, so that's when... Sorry?
What we should say, actually, is that Mum decided to move in 2015, and that's when we bought the bungalow off her and moved in ourselves, because otherwise people out there will think, oh, yeah, they bought the bungalow, but how do we look after it? But no, we live there now at the bungalow, which is called the Railway House. Very unique, not unique.
And when we took it over, the inside, that's my little pleasure, that is, because I like doing all the modelling, so I thought, oh, I can do World War II. Yeah, because I used to say to Dad, oh, if I had this, I'd have World War II. And he'd say, no, this is based on Rosedale up in the North Yorkshire moors. I went, oh, all right. He said, there's a family connection there. So I said, but I would have a Spitfire or something. And he went, yes, I could see that. So, of course, the first thing I'd done was get some figures. And so I got a Lancaster because that's a member of our family, Sue's uncle, that died in the war. Lance, his name was. And he was a navigator. So that's a little memorial to him. So nice big 1/32 scale Lancaster hanging from the ceiling.
So, do you open to the public now?
Yes, we open twice a year, usually in May and August, or June and September, those sort of months, trying to get the good weather. We open early in the year for the 3 Pillars Feeding the Homeless and Supporting the Community. That's a charity that we support and volunteer for in St Neots. So that's really important work that they do.
Is that with Jed?
It is,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, you know Jed.
I know Jed.
Oh, there we go. And Mick Prescott.
Yeah, I'm a Freemason as well.
Oh, are you? There you go. So you know all about the 3
Dots.
Pillars then. Yeah, so that's the first charity. And the second charity is Marie Curie, because a family member is a member of the group that raises money for Marie Curie. So we decided to take that one on as well. So it's 2 good causes, methinks.
And, of course, all the grandchildren love it.
Yeah.
You give them a remote control, it's like a little child mind. You just sit back and watch them going round the tracks.
Yes, David, our son, has a son, Jacob, and he's 7 years old now. He's grown up with it. I mean, we have pictures of him as almost a baby, you know, looking at it and watching his dad do stuff on the railway. And one day he will inherit it, I'm sure, because David will inherit it from us, and then Jacob would inherit it. And then that's our son's son. But then our daughter's daughter, her eldest daughter, Elika, she's very, very keen on it as well. She loves it. She's 15 now, but she still loves it. You know, she's not too proud to wear an engine driver's hat. And
No.
Have you, and the fact that it's moved from Somersham to Little Paxton, have you changed anything since you took over?
Yes, we had, because we had a large garage. One end was a garage, and Dad used to put his car in that end, and I kept looking at it and thinking, oh, it just doesn't look right. It'd be nice to take that door off, have a nice door and a nice window, let some light in, and at the other end where Dad had his work room, that all went to me son over at Woodwalton.
Woodwalton,
Yeah.
yes. It's all the equipment.
So he's took them over there because he's the engineer and he can work on stuff. So that gave me a bit of space that end. And so we put a massive, great big window in it. The person that was doing it said, Ivan, come and have a look. I said, oh, yes, look at that view. I said, oh, smashing. He said, you can have that view. I said, really? He said, you're going to have to pay just a little bit more, but it will save having a post next to the door. And I went, oh, crikey. He said, yeah, let's go for it, yeah. And it's fantastic. So anyway, then what we've done is where the car used to be, I had a big open space, and so, I can play here. And I said to my son David, I said, we've got nowhere to put the locos. I said, in a real railway, you would have engine sheds. So got some wood and bang, 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 and extended it, probably length of this room here. So we've got a nice turntable, engine sheds, and then I've got some back buildings, which I've all scratch built because I like building stuff and putting little tiny bricks on. And individually, yeah, 2mm by 4mm, and I stick all these little tiny bricks all up the walls, and I just love making it. And of course, like I said before, changed the inside from 1933, which is what my father-in-law had, to 1940, so I can have World War II. And I've got a little diorama of Dad's army there, little fun things, you know.
You've upgraded all of the station buildings, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, because when Dad built it, he built stations out of wood, but they were outside on the layout.
You left them out there all the time,
Yeah,
didn't you?
and of course he never covered them up because he was running all year round. So they deteriorated. So when they did take it off, I said, these need redoing. And I thought, I don't want to redo a whole building, so I just stripped it down and then stuck me bricks on it, so I could lift it up and then store it inside. So when we have an open day, I bring them out, and touch wood, we haven't had any rain. So somebody up there is probably Dad up there looking down, said, "Don't worry about that. They look fine." Yeah, so we lift everything up and take it inside. I would just like to say that when we have an open day, we do have friends that bring their locomotives to run on the day and make it special. Because I like to dress up as the station master, because there's railway in my blood, because my grandfather was the signalman at Great Paxton. So I just like, and I'm doing more PR really, aren't I? Going around explaining what Dad done. Dad done this, and we've changed this. And so got me son, he's the engineer. Anything goes wrong, take it to Dave. OK, he'll fiddle around with it. Next minute he'll have it running again. We've got two people, Pat and Tony, and they used to be friends of Sue's dad over in Somersham. And when they heard that we was going to get it up and running again, they said, could we bring our locomotives? And we said, oh, that's wonderful, because that's a connection with Dad. And then a friend of mine, Steve Brown, he got in contact, and he'd just built a Deltic, and the sound in that is amazing. You have to hear it. As it goes past, you can hardly hear yourself speak. And my son David, he's put sound cards in the locos now, so they're alive, so you get all the steam, you get the toots and everything. And of course, the little children that come and visit, we let some have a little go if we think that they're competent with a controller. Yeah, and the look on their faces, they said going around, it's magical. It really is magical. And I just think, this is the legacy. And another friend of mine, he brings an actual steamer, and he gets it going. The only trouble is, it's a different gauge to what we've got, and it doesn't fit through our tunnel mouths. But he's informed me that he's just got another one with a boiler that is upright instead of lying down, and it's a little bit smaller. So tomorrow he's coming round, and we're going to see. Well, we'll be playing. We'll see if we can get it to go round. That'd be super. But that's real steam, and it goes to another level then.
Sue, have you done any interviews with anyone else?
Yes, we have. Yes, we went through a flurry of interviews just after lockdown, after the COVID. Cater's News. We did Cambridge Evening News. We did about News Anglia, ITV about Anglia, and also the Hunts Post. So we've been interviewed by quite a few people over the years.
Hunts Post was just the other week, wasn't it?
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yes, yes.
OK, so final question. What's going to happen to the railway in the future? Who's going to inherit it? Is it going to be passed down?
Yes, absolutely. The idea is that our son David will inherit it from us. So he's going to be building his own railway and taking the locos and having fun with it. And then when he gets too old for it, Jacob will have it. So, and hopefully Jacob's son then, who knows, who knows how long it will go on.
At the moment, we say like we're at the zenith, aren't we? Because we're still young enough to enjoy it and have the open days.
Yes.
It's not too taxing.
And when's the next open day?
We haven't actually fixed a date, but
No.
it'll be next June. And we will let you know when that date is, and that will be for the 3 pillars. So everybody come and give lots of money.
what do you charge to get in and have a look?
Well, we're very clever. We charge nothing. It's all donations only, and that's a good way of making money because people are so generous. They put 10s, 20s in the box as they come in.
They've
or as
been
they go
so
out.
generous,
Amazing.
aren't they? They really
we sell
are.
raffle tickets. No, what did we raise this one? We've just done
615 or
660.
something.
620. Yeah, that's
100,
right.
131 people turned up.
Yeah.
It's a steady flow. We have it from 2 o'clock till 5.
Oh, I've only got about 30 seconds left. That's it from me. I've been speaking to Ivan and Sue Page about the Little Paxton Garden Railway, and thank you for listening. Have a lovely week.